Welcome back, developers. In our last video, we went deep into the Laravel 12 Livewire Starter Kit and we explored the file structure, auth system, layout architecture, and how Flux components make Livewire 3 development a breeze. But today, we are putting it all into actions and we are going to build a fully functional projects module. This will be a complete with model CRUD, image upload, flash messages, and color-coded status badges. And it is all Livewire 3, Flux powered and blazing fast. This is a full stack Livewire powered UI, clean, modern and totally reusable. And here is a quick demo of the application that we are going to build in the today's session. So we have this project management listing here, in which we have the following fields like name, description, status, deadline, logo, and the actions button. At the top right corner, we have add project button. By clicking on this has opened a pop-up model. From here, we can create a new project. We have the form validation. And for the UI components, I have used Livewire Flux components. Here in the actions, we have the view, edit, and delete. If we'll click on view, this has opened the same pop-up model and in which this has rendered the project details. In the view mode, we have all the fields disabled. Also, we don't have the submit button here. Only we have this cancel button. On edit mode, the same pop-up model is opened again, but the form is in editable mode. And here we have the project details populated over this form. From here, we can update the project detail. We can change the status. We can change the project logo. Now let me change the status here as completed. And I will submit the form. Yes, the project status is completed and here we have a flash message. Next we have the delete action. If we click on this delete, this has opened one pop-up confirmation like are you sure you want to delete this? And if we'll confirm, yes, that project list has been deleted and we saw the flash message here. Also we have the Livewire 3 pagination. So this is all about the demo. Whether you are managing client projects, tasks or tickets, this will be your go-to CRUD setup. But before that, if you are new to the Programming Fields channel, this is Umesh Rana and I help you build powerful Laravel plus modern JS application step by step. Hence, if you have not subscribed the channel yet, do subscribe and hit the bell notification so you won't miss the future updates on this channel. Now let's start the project setup. So let's quickly jump to the terminal. And here, I will do a fresh Laravel 12 setup with Livewire Starter Kit. So I will add Laravel new and I will provide the project name as Livewire CRUD app. I will hit enter. And for the starter kit, I will select Livewire and I will go with the built-in authentication here. And regarding the Vault, in the last video, we discussed about the Vault and we chosen yes while installing the Livewire. This time I will select no because I'm going to create a separate class and view for the components. So I will go with no. And for the testing framework, let's go ahead with paste. And this is installing Laravel 12 application with Livewire Starter Kit. And let's wait for a moment. And the default migrations have been executed. Now further this will ask for the node modules. I will go with yes. And this is installing node modules for the front-end assets. And the installation has been completed. Now let me quickly link this with wallet. So firstly, I'll navigate to this project folder. And I will add wallet link, further wallet park. And also I will open this project in the VS Code editor. So the project has been opened. Now I will stay ahead to the terminal and I will run composer run dev command. So this has started Laravel application alongside npm run dev. Now I will navigate to the browser and here in the new tab, I will access that application using Livewire CRUD app.test. Now let me zoom in the screen and here we have the official homepage. Now from here, I will quickly register one user. So I'll click on register and I will give the name, email address, password, and I will confirm it. Now I will submit this form, and yes, the user has been registered successfully. Now let me quickly change the theme to light so that it will be clearly visible to you. Now further, as per the demo, we have to add one more menu here in the sidebar. Okay. So I will quickly jump to the code editor. Now inside the resources, views, inside the components, we have the layouts. And here we have the app layout. Inside this, we have the sidebar blade. So let's add one more navigation menu just after this dashboard. So let me just duplicate this. And here I will provide the URL endpoint as projects. For the active menu, I will check route edge projects. And let's change the name to projects. Now regarding the icon, we have to change this. So for the icons, Livewire uses hero icons here. So I'll quickly jump to the browser. And here in the new tab, I will just search for hero icons. Now inside this, I will search for the icon. So regarding the project, I will search for folder and I will just use this one, folder plus. So I'll copy this name. I will switch to the code editor and I will paste that icon name as folder plus. Now in the next step, we need this route to be added in the web.php so that this will allow rendering this page. But before adding the route, let's quickly do the setup of model migration and then we will add the route. So I will quickly jump to the terminal again and I will duplicate this terminal tab. Now inside this, I will create one model using PHP artisan make model command and I will give the model name as project. Now alongside this model, I need the migration as well. Now this has created model and migration. So after creating the model and migration, next we will create Livewire components because for project management, we need two components. As per the demo application, we have this project listing and further we have this project model and this project model is reused for create, view and edit. So only we need two components. So let's create these components one by one. So inside this, I will type PHP artisan Livewire :make command. And here we need two components. So initially I will create one folder as projects. And inside this, I will create the component like index. Okay, because this will be our project listing. So I will just hit enter. And yes, the project listing component, that means the index component has been created. Now let's create another. We can give a name like form model. This will be simple. Let's hit enter. And yes, both components have been created. Now let's check out the directory. Now inside the resources, views, here we have the Livewire folder. Now inside the Livewire folder, we have projects folder, okay? And inside this, we have these two components created. Now respective to these components blades, we have their respective classes inside app, Livewire, projects, and we have these two component classes like form model and index. Now I will quickly jump to the routes web.php. After this settings route, I will create one more route as route : get. I will provide the name as projects and here I will render that Livewire component. So we have the Livewire component as index : class. Okay. We can give the name as projects. Now let's import this index component here using Livewire. So the component has been imported as Livewire projects index. This is the actual path. Now let's navigate to this index component. Here we have this index view. So let's navigate inside this. So firstly, we need a title at the top. So if we'll check, here we have this project management and description. And this we can find it inside the settings component. So inside the profiles, we have the settings. We have the settings, headline, and this description. So from here, we can just copy and paste it inside that component. So inside settings, here we have this profile.blade. And this has included one more component as partial settings heading. Now let's navigate inside this and let's copy this. Now let's come back to this index component and here I will paste it. Now I will change the title as project management and let's update this description as create and manage your projects. Okay. Now if we'll check out the browser, if we'll click on projects, yes, this component has been rendered. Now further we have to design this layout as we have this table and here we have this button. So let's start designing this component. So firstly I will just wrap this component in a parent div because Livewire allows only single element to be rendered inside the DOM. So here we will just wrap one more div, just like div, and I will set the padding as 4 inside this. Okay. Now from here, let's start designing this button section. Now let me just dock this sidebar window. Now let's create div class and I will set this to text end because I want this button to be displayed at the right side and I will give the margin bottom as 4. Now inside this div, I need a button and that button will be Flux component. So let's check out the official documentation of Flux. So I will search for Livewire Flux. If you'll check out this official documentation under get started. Now let me just toggle this theme to light. Okay. Now let me zoom in. Here we have this installation guide. So initially, if you are not going with the Livewire Starter Kit, you will have to install it manually using this composer command. But as of now, we have chosen the Laravel 12 with Livewire Starter Kit. So through this has already installed the Livewire Flux component in our project. So if we'll check and verify the composer.json, here we have the Livewire Flux and Livewire Vault installed by default. Okay. So let's jump to the next step. So inside the components, here we have these all available components. So initially I need button component here to be added. So here we have this button component. Let's click on this. And this Flux provides this beautiful button components. We have multiple colors variant. Here we have the color options. So as per the demo, I will choose this primary variant and I will set the color as indigo. So here we have this Flux button. Let's copy this and let's come back to the code editor and let's add it here. Now let's change the text to add project. And here in the Flux button, we can add the icon as well. So if we'll check out the documentation and if we'll scroll down, here we have the button icons. And for that, we have to pass the props as icon. And inside the icon, we have to use the hero icon that we already saw here. This one. So let's add the icon for this as circle plus. You can change anything. So I will quickly add icon props here, just like this. And from here, let's pass the icon name as plus circle. Okay. This is done. We can set the class as cursor pointer. Now further, when we'll click on this add project, this should open one pop-up. So again, this pop-up is a Flux component. Now if we'll check the official documentation, here we have this model component. Inside the model, if we'll check, we have this kind of model. So let's pick this model. So now let's copy this component. Now let's come back to the editor. And for rendering the form, we have a separate form component as form model. Now inside this component view, I will paste it. Now we have to render this form component inside this index blade. So just after this button, here I will render that form component. So I will call Livewire colon, and we have the path as projects dot form model. Now if we'll come back to the browser and if we'll check the application, this said Livewire only supports one HTML. So inside the form model, we will have to wrap it inside single parent element. Currently it has button and model component separately. So let me just add div here just to show you. And if we'll navigate to the browser, here we have the edit profile button. And when we'll click on this edit profile, this has opened this model. Okay. But now what I want to open this model on this add project button instead of this edit profile. So I'll just cut it from here. I will navigate to this index blade, and just after this button, let me paste it. Now instead of this Flux edit profile button, I will just paste this button. Now if we'll navigate to the browser, and yes, here we have this button, and if we'll click, yeah, this model has been triggered. Now let's understand how this is working. So inside this index component, we have wrapped this button inside model trigger component, which has a name attribute as edit profile. And this edit profile name is model name here, which is defined inside this model name attribute. So this value should be same whatever we have defined in the button for model trigger, that should be the model name. So as of now, I will change this model name to a common name because we have this project model and we will be using this for create, view and update. So I will give a common name just like project model. Now respective to this, we have to update the same inside the index component for this button wrapper. Otherwise it won't work. If you want to check, if we'll click, this is not working. So let's update this name to project model. Now this name and this form model name is same. Now if we'll check, yes, this has opened that model. Now let's design this form quickly. So as per the demo, we need these all fields like project name, description, deadline, status and logo. So let's add these fields one by one inside the form model component. So firstly, I will just increase the form width, just like width to 32 rem. You can set this in the pixel as well. And here, let's quickly update the classes. So I will set this to font bold and let's update the title as create project. And regarding this description, I will change this to add a new project using the form below. Now further we'll start adding the inputs. So we have these two input fields added just for name and date of birth. Now we need this for project name. So I will just wrap this in a div and I will give a custom class name as form group. Okay. And here I will change this label to project name. Placeholder will be just like enter project name. And further we need project description. This is for project name. This is for description. So for the description, we need text area. And here we have this text area component. So let's copy this Flux text area. And instead of this Flux input, I will change this to Flux text area. I will change the label to description. Let's remove this type. This is not needed. And placeholder, just like sort project description. And we can set the row attribute here, just like row. And I will set this to 3. Further, we have deadline. So we need one date input field. So inside the form group, this will be for deadline. And I'll just copy this same component and I will add it here. And here we will have to change this type to date. Now in the label, I will change this to deadline. And here we don't need this placeholder. So let's remove this. Now further we need a status. So in the status, we have the options like pending, in progress, completed and cancelled. So regarding this select, we have the select component inside this Flux. So let's copy this, and just after this deadline, we have this status. So again, I will wrap this in form group and I will paste it here. This has already added the event as wire model. So I will change this to a status. Also, we'll have to bind all the input fields with wire model directive. Firstly, let's change this placeholder as select a status, just like this. And next we need options like we have pending, in progress, completed and cancelled. So let's change the option label as pending. Next I will set this to in progress. Also let's pass the value property as value, and here we will have to set the value pending. Value will be in progress. And next, after in progress, I will set one more as completed. This value will be completed. And further we need one more as cancelled. So let's remove others. And the value will be cancelled. Now if we'll check, and if we'll click on this form, yeah, we have this rendered. Also we need one label here. So I will pass the label property, label, and this will be status. Now after the drop down, we need one input file component for uploading the project image. So let's add the same component input from here. I'll copy it and I will add it for project logo. Now inside this, I will change the type as file. Let's update the label as project logo. And this will accept image only. So for the client side, I will add the accept property and I will set image / asterisk. And here we can add the class property, and in the class, I will set the class as cursor pointer. Okay. Now we need one more button here as cancel. And also we have to change the class of this button. So we have the same indigo button as we have added this for add project. So let's add the color here inside this button. This is variant, and we can set the color property to indigo. And we need one more button just in order to close the model. So if we'll navigate to the documentation, inside the model, here we have this confirmation. So inside the confirmation, if we'll check, we have this cancel button just in order to close the current model. So let's copy this button from here and let's paste it. Now I will update the text as save project, and I will pass the class as cursor pointer, and I will set the margin start of 2. Also I will set the same cursor pointer in this cancel button as well. Okay. Now if we'll check, yeah, this is done. Here we can give some spacing. So I will add the class just like justify and padding top of 4. This is our button. Now let's quickly design the database schema as per this form. Okay. So I will check out the database migrations. Here we have this create projects table. Now inside this, let's add the field like string, and firstly we'll have the title. Okay. Also respective to this title, I will add slug, and this will be unique. We need text as description, and next we need status column. So I will set enum, and inside this I will pass the field as status. Let's define the array as pending, in progress. I'm just defining those values which I have defined inside the form as options. So we have the pending, in progress, and further we have this completed and cancelled. In progress, completed, and this is cancelled. And for the default value, I will set this to pending. Now after the status, we have the next field as deadline and project logo. So I will create table and I will specify date field for deadline, and this can be nullable. And lastly, I will create project logo as a string, and this will be optional in the front end. And we can set soft delete as well. So I will use soft deletes. Now after adding the migration, let's check out the model. So inside the app models, we have this project model. Now here we will have to define the fillable property. So I will use protected fillable, and inside this I will add those fields: name, slug, we have this description, deadline, status, and project logo. Also for the soft delete, we will have to use the trait as use soft deletes, and let's import this class here from this model soft deletes. Now let's come to the terminal, and here we will have to migrate this schema in order to dump this in the database. So we will type php artisan migrate. Now in the next step, let's handle the form submission. So inside the form model, let's bind the input with Livewire event. So I will be using wire model directive here, and this is name. So I have given the field as name. Now let's copy this, and inside the description, let's add it, and let's change the model as description. Further, we have this date field as deadline. Okay. Next we have this status. So here it is already added. And for the project logo, let's add this to wire model as project logo. Now here we need to add the form. So instead of this div, I will change this to form, and here we will have this closing. Also this additional div is not needed because we have a single parent component inside this. Now here inside the form, we will write wire submit directive, and here I will define a function name like save project. Now let's copy this save project function. Let's navigate to this form model, and just above here, I will define that function as save project. Now before handling this save project, we will have to define those fields variable here, which we have bound here in the input fields. So let's copy these fields like name, description, and all. And here we will have to define the property like public $name, so that this public property will be directly accessible in the form, and here this will bound with that property. And let's define this with null. Next we have description. I will initialize it with null. Further we have deadlines. So here we have this wire model deadline. Again it will be null. Next we have this status. So this will be public status, and by default we can set this initial value as pending here, and this is project logo. Now here we will apply the form validation. So firstly, let's start with the name property, and for applying the form validation, I will be using Livewire approach. So just above every property, here I will be using has validate. Okay, this is Livewire property, and here we can define the rule like required string. We can set max property just like 100, and we will have to import this validate property using Livewire. Now after the name, I will edit for description. So this will be again required string, max will be 255, we have this deadline. Again, this will be required, a string. Also, we have this status. This will be required, string. Now regarding this image I want to be nullable. So I will keep this optional using nullable property. And if we'll select any file, it should be image and it should be max 5 MB. So I will set max 5120. Now inside this save project, this is our submit handler. This is save project. Here we will have to validate the form. So I will be using $this validate function. And after validating the data, we'll capture the validated form request. So I will capture it in a variable like validated project request. We are validating form here. Now let's check out the form validation errors at the browser. So inside the project, let's refresh and let's click on add project. And if we'll submit the form validation errors have been triggered here. Now here, there are some extra spaces against every classes. And if we'll check by inspecting it, here the Flux component has added error attribute for every validation errors. And here this has added class as margin top of 3. So we can remove this class. This is not needed. And we will have to apply it for every error messages. And this div is coming inside this form group because we have already added one parent div inside this. So we can target form group having div as role alert. Okay. So let's add the CSS inside app.css. So inside the resources, CSS, we have this app.css. And by default, we have this Tailwind and Flux CSS added here. Now just below this, I will use form group because we have to target the parent element. And inside that, I will capture div having role as alert. And I want to remove the margin top. So I will set this margin top to 0 and I will set this to important. Now if we'll check out the browser, and yes, the extra spaces have been removed from this validation error messages. So this is done. Now we have to work on the form submission. So for submitting the form, what I want to keep a separate class because here that will be reusable. So what I will do, I will create 2 separate classes just in order to write the business logic and in order to interact with the database related to the project module. So I will quickly create these 2 classes using PHP artisan make class command. And here I will provide the folder name just like services. Inside this, I will create one class as project service. Okay. And one more class I need in order to interact with the database things. So for that, I will name it as repository. And this will be project repository. Okay. So these 2 classes have been created. Now we'll have to implement the form submission logic. So from here, I will trigger that class. So firstly, I'll just create one object of that. So we have project service and I will inject here as project service. Let's import this project service. Okay. Now using this project service object, I will call one function inside this service and I will give it name as save project. Now inside this function, I will pass the validated data. Okay. Now let's copy this function name and let's navigate to the project service and we can find it inside app services. We have this project service. Now inside this project service, let's define this function public function save project. And we will have to receive that parameter that we are passing from this form model as validated project request. So I will give it a name as project request. Now inside this, we have to save the project data. So for interacting the database, we have created one repository class inside this repositories folder. So let's inject this project repository class inside this service class constructor. So here I will pass project repository and I will create one instance as project repository. Now let's define a global variable here, protected, and this will be project repository. Now inside the constructor, let's assign this project repository to this project repository. Now here I will put dump and die project request. Now I will switch back to the form model, and here we have the file as well. So for handling the file, I will be using use with file upload trait. And let's import this using Livewire. Okay. Now we will be able to proceed with the form submission. So inside the project service, let's import this repository class. And if we'll try to submit the form, let's fill up it quickly. Date, status will be pending, and I will select the file. So initially I will try selecting different file apart from image so that we can check for the validation. I have selected this PDF, and this said the project logo field must be an image. If I will select any larger file which is greater than 5 MB, this has thrown the error. So this validation is working properly. Now let's select the image. So I have selected the proper image, and if we'll click on save, here we received the data. Now based on this, we can proceed for the form submission. So along with the data, we are getting the file as project logo. So we have to handle the file and we'll have to upload it inside this. Now let me dock this sidebar again. And initially I will check if this project request contains image, which is project logo. So better we'll check if it is not empty, because at the client side, this is optional. Now let's remove this dump and die. If it is there, then I will capture this in a variable. So I will just copy and paste it. And I will assign this in a variable like project logo. Now let's upload the image, project logo, and I will be using a store function so that this will store the image in storage folder, and I will specify the directory name like projects, and this will store in the public disk. Now after uploading the file, let's capture this file path in a variable project logo path, and here I will assign this in a same request variable. We have this project request, and this will have project logo as this file path. This is done. After this, we will have to capture the slug of the title. So we have this project request, and inside that I will assign this slug, which will be generated using str slug helper function. And inside this, I will pass the name, which is coming inside this request. This will be name. And we will have to import this str helper function using eliminate support str. Okay, this is done. Now lastly, we can insert this project data in the projects table. So for that, we will be using this project repository. So let's copy this project repository instance, and I will call save project method. And inside this, I will pass this project request, and finally I will return it here. Now let's copy this save project method alongside this parameter. Now let's navigate to the repository class. Here we have this project repository, and let's define the method as public function save project. And here we will be using project model create function. Now inside this, let's pass this project request and let's return the final data. This is done. So we have created this service and repository class in order to keep our Livewire component code cleaned and more maintainable. Now let's check out to the form model, and here after getting the response we have to reset the form. So I will be using $this reset provided by Livewire, and also we have to close the current pop-up. So for that I will be using Flux attribute. So here we have this Livewire methods. Inside this we have this confirm method and also this close methods. Okay, so if we'll use Flux models close method, this will close all the models which are used inside the same component. Now apart from this all model close, this provides a specific model open and close functionality by providing the model name. So here inside this model function you will have to pass that model name. So let's copy this function, and here after resetting the form we have to close that model, and firstly we'll have to import this Flux from Flux. Okay, now inside the model parameter we have to pass the current model name, which is here we have project model. So let's copy this and here let's pass it. Now also for showing the success message, from here I want to dispatch the Livewire event. So I will call $this dispatch and I will give a name as flash for that event. Now inside this I will pass the message as project created successfully and the type will be success. Now I want to capture this flash message and I want to render that in a front end. So I will navigate to the index component, and inside this, just after this model component, I will be using Alpine.js. So I will define X data attribute, in which firstly we'll have to check the state as so if it is enabled, and further we'll define the message because we are getting message dynamically, and also we have the type attribute, and this will check on init. So when the component will be initialized we have to get that. So this will be window add event listener, and we are passing the event as flash, this one. So we'll have to pass that event name here, we have to capture it. So this will be event, and inside this I will check the data which we will receive from event.detail of array. So we will receive the first index of that details, and let's define this a variable just like const, and further I will get the message from data.message and type will be data.type, and here this so will be true. And after a few interval of time we have to close it. So I will be using set timeout function, and here we'll have to make this state to false. Okay, and I will pass the time as 4000 millisecond. Now after this I will be using X show property, and I will set this to show. We can set the transition here, and also we can set the class property so that we can style it at top. So I will set this to fixed, and from top it will be 4, right 4. I can give padding X 4, padding Y as 2, rounded shadow LG, and let's keep this text white and Z index as well. Now further we have to pass a few dynamic classes based on the type only. So we will define class attribute, in which I will pass the classes based on this type if it is success or error. So if type is success, okay, then I will pass the classes bg emerald, and I will set the color property to 600. Else if it is error, then I will set this to red. And initially it will be hidden, so I will set display none. And further in between this div, I have to display that flash message. So I will use X text attribute in which I will pass this message. So this is done. This is flash message component. Okay. Now let's navigate to the browser and let's check the application. Let's create one project here. This will be Laravel 12 Alpine.js CRUD. I will copy and paste the same description. Let's select the deadline and let's select the image. So I will select this Alpine.js CRUD. I'll click on save, and this said app repositories project not found inside the repository class. So we will have to import that model inside this. Let's import this class from app models. Okay, this is done. Now let's try creating project one more time. Okay, let's select the date and image. Now let's submit the form. And yes, the project has been created successfully. We received the session flash message here. Now after creating the project, that model has been closed. And here we have to show that project listing. So let's work on the project listing now. So inside the project service, I will create one more function as function get all projects, and I will name it as get all projects. Okay. Now inside this, I will return a raw query of the project. So I will be using $this project repository get project query, and let's copy this function. Now inside the project repository, let's define it get project query, and this will return raw query of this project. This is function get project query. This is our save function. Okay. This has parameter array as project request. Now after returning this project query, here we will apply the pagination, and this we will have to implement it inside index component. So inside this index component, firstly let's design the table layout. So inside this component, after this flash message, here we will have to design that table for listing. So let's create one div having class as overflow x. I will set this to auto, border rounded as Excel, and shadow MD class. Okay. Now inside this, I will create one table having class as min width full, table auto, and I will set text sm text left. Further, we will have to create thead. Now inside this thead, let's add the class as bg gray to 50, text gray to 700, and I will set the header to uppercase with text extra small. Also will set font semi bold and border bottom. Now inside this thead, let's create tr and th. So inside this tr, let's add th, and here inside the th, let's add class as padding 4, and the first th I want as index as per the demo. Here we have this index, name, description, and these all. So let's add it for index. Next we have name, description, status, deadline, and further we have logo and accents. So this is logo, accents, okay. And for this logo, I will set padding X as 13 and padding Y as 4. For this actions column, I will make it center. This is done. Now after this T head, we will have to create T body. Okay. And inside this T body, we will have this TR. So firstly, let's get the data from this component class to this component view. So for that, inside the index component, I will create one function as get all projects. Okay. Now inside this function, again we'll have to call the function from project service, which is get all projects. So let's copy this function, and inside this index component, here I will inject that project service class, and let's create this instance as project service. Let's import this class here. Now by using this instance, I will call that function as get all projects, and this will return the projects query. So I will apply order by ID, and I will set this descending, and further I will paginate that. So we can set the pagination as 10, just like this. Now in order to use this pagination, we will have to use the Livewire trait as use with pagination, and let's import this using Livewire. Also, I don't want URL to be visible in the pagination. So for that, again we'll use one more trait as without URL pagination. Let's import this as well. This will be from Livewire without URL pagination. Now simply I'll copy this function with parameters, and I will call it inside render function. So this will be $this, and I will create one variable as projects, and I will pass it inside the compact projects, and here this parameter will be passed from here, and let's pass this instance here as a parameter so that this can be received from here, and we will have to return the project listing in this way. Now let's navigate to this index blade again, and here we will have to render that projects. So for rendering this, I will be using for else directive, for else as projects as $project. Now inside this for else block, let's render this tr. So inside the tr, I want to add the hover effect. So for that, I will add class like hover bg gray, and I will set this to 50 with transition effect. Now in the first TD, we need index. So for that, let's add loop index using loop index +1. Further we need name. So this will be captured from project name. Next we have this description, status, deadline, and project logo. So for project logo, we will have to render that in the image element. So firstly, I'll check if project has project logo. So better I'll use if condition using if directive, just like this. If project has project logo, then only it should be rendered. So I will be using image, and inside the source, I will pass the asset, and the path will be storage. Okay. And the rest path will be included as project path, which will be project logo. Here we can add alt attribute as project logo, and we can set the class like height 18, width 32, and rounded border. This is done. Now further we need the action columns. So for that we have to define the TD. Now respective to this TH, we have to add the same class in all the TD. So let's select these all TD at once. And I will add the class as padding 4. Okay. Now for the empty block, I will move this tr and I will create one TD, and we have total columns as 7. So I will set the col span as 7. Also will set the class padding 6, text, center, and a message. So for that I will be using Flux component. This will be Flux text, and let's pass the class as Flux items center justify center text red 500. Now inside this Flux text, I will render the Flux icon using Flux icon dot, and I will pass the exclamation triangle so that we can get it from this hero icon itself. We have exclamation triangle. Let's copy this, and I will set the class like margin right of 2, and the message will be no projects found. Now let's save this and let's navigate to the browser. And yes, here we have the project rendered. This th is mismatched. So let's close this. Okay. Now regarding the status, we have to display that in the capitalize. So I will set the class here in this status. So I will set this as capitalize. And in order to display the project status in this badge format, we'll have to pass the classes. So for this, I will check if condition. So I will open the PHP syntax, and instead of checking the if condition for multiple status, because we have total 4 status here. So based on this, I will be using switch statement here. And here in the PHP 8, we can use match expression. So I will be using match, and inside this, I will pass the project status. This is like switch statement. Okay. And here we'll have to define the cases like a status value, which is pending. So for pending, I want to display the status in background LO having 300, and the text will be also LO, and this will have 800 having border and border color as LO 500. Now let's duplicate this. Next we have the title as in progress. So for in progress, I want this to be shown in blue color. Okay. And for completed, this will be green. Next we have the cancelled. So for the cancelled, this will be shown in red color. Okay. And this is not needed. Now let's capture this in a variable like status color. Now let's copy this status color, and here let's create one span element, and inside this span I will pass that class as status color. Now apart from this status color, let's add few more classes like padding x of 3, padding y of 1, and I will set this to rounded with shadow sm. This is done. Now I will check. Yes, this is displaying properly. Now let's work on this action. So in the actions, we have total 3 buttons as view, edit, and delete. So let's add these buttons here. So what I will do, I'll just copy this above button, because again we will have to trigger the model here for actions like view and edit. So I'll just copy this same button because in this we have the model trigger name attribute set as project model. So this will help triggering that same model. So inside this td, I will paste that. This is project model trigger, and I will remove this text. Instead of text, I want to display icon. So let's remove this. Here I want eye icon to be visible for view. This is view. Now similar to this, I will add it for edit. So for edit, this icon will be pencil. Now inside the buttons, let's add classes like cursor, pointer, and this has variant as primary. For view, I will change the color to sky, and let's copy it and add it for this edit button as well. This color will be blue. And regarding the delete button, I don't want to trigger the same model for that because that will be delete action. So I'll copy this button and I will keep this outside this model trigger. This is our delete. Okay. Now here I will change this color to red and this icon will be trash. Now let's come to the browser. These buttons are rendered and here we can give some spaces among these buttons as per the demo. So let's add the space in the middle button. Here I will set margin X of 1. Now if we'll check, if we'll click on view, the same model is triggering. Same for the edit. Okay. Now in order to differentiate the action, like if it is view or edit, we will have to dispatch one event alongside this model triggering. So for that, we'll have to add wire click event inside the button. So we'll use wire click, and on wire click, I want to dispatch event. Okay. So I want to pass the event as open project model. And alongside this event, I want to pass the parameters like mode, because we have different mode like edit or view. So I will pass the mode as edit, and also I want to pass the project data. So I will define one more key as project from $project. So this is done. Now let's copy this wire click and let's add it for edit as well. This mode will be view. This is edit. Now let's listen this event in the form component. So inside the form model, here I will capture this event using on attribute, and inside this on attribute, I will pass that event. And now respective to this event, I have to define one method that will be triggered based on that event only. So here I will define one method as project detail. Okay. And if we'll add dump and die hello, and let's import this on attribute here. Yes, this has imported. Now let's navigate to the browser and let's try clicking on view. Yes, on view, we have this model triggered by default, but alongside this has dispatched one event and we have listened that event inside this. Now after listening that event, we have to capture the parameter as well. So we are passing two parameters from there as mode and also that project detail. Okay. Now inside this dump, I will add mode and that project. Okay. Now if we'll check again on click on view, yes, the mode is view and we are getting the project details here. Same thing if we'll click on edit, yes, we are getting the mode as edit alongside the project detail. Now based on this, I will add one condition. So firstly, I'll check if mode is create, because for the create mode, we will have to reset the form. So I will be using reset and For the else part, I will extract this project data and I will bind to these variables, which we have name, description, deadline, status, and project logo, so that this will be populated over the form. So I will just write $this name is equals this project name. Next we have this description, and this will fetch from project description. Same thing for the deadline, status, and project logo. Now apart from this, I will define one more variable just like project ID. That will be helpful for delete and in update. So I will initialize it with null, and here when we will have the project data, I will assign that project ID as project ID. And by default, I will initialize this project to null because in the create mode, we won't have this. Only this will be applicable for view and edit mode. Now, apart from this project ID, let's define one more variable as ageView, so that based on this flag, we can disable the form. Okay. And here I will check if mode is view, then I will assign the is view to true. So this will be is view. Okay. So by default, it will assign if it is view, then this will become true. And inside the create mode, I will have to reset this is view to false. This is done. Now apart from this, we need one more variable as existing image in order to check if we have existing image. So let's define existing image and initialize it with null. Now let's copy this, and instead of assigning this current image to this same variable, I will assign this to existing image, because in the current variable, we are just capturing the image while we are uploading. That will be applied for preview as well. And here let's put dump and die $project in order to check if the data is coming in array or object. If we'll click on view, yeah, the data is coming in the form of array. So we will have to change this object to array, just like this. And also for this project ID, this is done now. If we'll click on view, yes, all the data have been rendered here on the form. Now if we'll click on edit, yes, on edit as well, all the data have been rendered. Now on view, we have to disable the form. Okay. So what we'll do, I will just copy this flag is view, and I will navigate to the form, and inside every input, I will apply disable property just like this. And here I will check if is view. Now let's copy this and apply it for other fields. Now regarding this image upload, I will add if condition. If not is view, then only this will render this input component. And for the submit button, also we need to add this condition, if not is view. Now let's check again. If we'll click on view, yeah, the form is disabled and we don't have the submit button. On edit, the form is enabled alongside this button. Okay. Also we need to change the title here, and we'll have to display that existing image. So let's update the title. Here we'll check if is view, then this will be project detail. Okay. Else, again I will check one more condition. If we have the project ID, update. If ID is not there, then this will be create. All right. And let's close this just outside this. And here let's concat this. Now for rendering the existing image, here I will check one if condition. So firstly, I will check if project logo is there, That means when we select any new image while uploading, we have one key as project logo. This is attribute. So when we'll select the image, this will have the file object. So from this file object, I will extract and I will get the temporary URL for the preview. So I will check if we have this project logo, and I will check if not, errors has this project logo. Okay. Else if we have the existing image, so in the else if, I will check if project ID is there. That means if it is view or edit mode, and we have the existing image. So for the existing image, we have this variable as existing image. So I will check with this. If it is there, then I will use image, and in the source, I will pass the asset having a storage path, and I will concat the existing image. Now alongside this, I will pass few more classes like margin top of 2, and I can set the width 75, height will be like 40, and let's make it rounded. Now let's copy the same image element, and we will set this for current image preview. So this will be preview, and here this path will be from project logo. So let's remove this. This is not needed. This will be project logo, and Livewire provides temporary URL function just in order to get the temporary URL of attached files. This is done. Now let's save and navigate to the browser, and if we'll click on view, yes, on view we have the existing image rendered over here. Now on edit, yes, on edit as well, we have the existing image alongside this new image upload functionality. Also, we have to update the button title as update. So in the button, I will check if we have project ID, then this will be update, else it will be save. Now let's work on the update functionality. So on update, we will be using same form having submit action as save project. So this function is already defined here in the form model save project. Only we have to differentiate based on the project ID. So if project ID is there, we will trigger another function for update, else it will call this save project function. So here I will check if we have this project ID, else this will call this save project method. Now let's copy this function and add it here, and I will change this method name to update project, in which we will have the validated request alongside this project ID. So I will pass this project ID as a first parameter. Now let's copy this method alongside these parameters, navigate to this project service, and here let's define the function as public function update project. Let's change this variable to project ID. Now what we'll do, firstly we'll check if that project exists. So for getting that project, I will use this function get all projects, and from here I will use find function because this is returning the project query. So inside the project query, I will pass the project ID, and this will return current project. And if we'll put dump and die project, and if we'll check on edit, if we'll click on update, yes, we are getting that project data. Now based on this, let's write the update functionality. So after having the project, let's add if condition. If project is there, then we will update the project with validated data. Okay, so for the update, I will be using eloquent function as update, and I will pass the validated data here just like this. But in update, we have to check if we have the existing image and that image has been changed from the client side, then we will have to remove that image from the folder, and also we'll have to upload the new image. So for uploading the new image, again I will use this same snippet alongside this title, and I will paste it here, and I will change the variable name here. This is project request. So let's change this to project request. And firstly, it will check if while updating there is no any new image uploaded, then it won't upload that. If it has new image selected, then it will upload and it will insert that. Now regarding the old image, we'll have to delete that old image. So here we'll check if the current project image, this project logo, if it is there, then in the storage, I will check if storage exists, and we'll have to import this storage facade first. From a storage exist, if the current image, which is project logo, if this exists, then we will have to delete that from a storage. So we will be using a storage delete method, and we'll pass this project image. And for updating the project in the bulk, I will be using save method. So what I will do, I will update field one by one. So we have name, and this name I'll get it from project request name. Okay. Also for this slug, so I will assign this slug here, and I will cut this str slug from here, and I will keep it inside this. Now next we have the description. Now regarding the project logo, I will update that only if we have new image uploaded, so that we can keep it inside this same if condition. So I will just assign project logo, and here we'll have to pass this project logo path. And lastly, we will use project save function. This is done, and let's return the response here. This is our update project, and we are capturing two parameters. So the param is int project ID, and one more is we have array project request. This is done. Now let's implement delete functionality as well, just after this function. Delete project, and the function will be delete project. Here we will take project ID. So in the parameter, we are accepting project ID. Now initially we have to find the project based on this project ID. So for getting the project, we have a common function here as getAllProjects, in which this is returning raw query, and that we have already used inside this update project. So I will copy these two lines and I will paste it inside this delete function. Now inside this if condition, that means if project is there, then I will remove that project. And regarding the image, I'm not deleting it because we have used soft delete. So in case if we want to restore that project, we should have that image exist in the storage folder. And let's return this response. Now let's navigate to the index blade, and here we need one confirmation alert while deleting this. So let's check out the official documentation of Flux, and here we have the confirmation model. Inside this, if we'll check, this will open this type of model. Okay, so we already have this button, only we need this model, and this should be triggered using that button click only. So let's copy this model. I will navigate to the code editor, and here just after this table, this is our main div. So inside this main div, I will paste that delete project model. Okay, now I will update the name to delete project. In case if you want to reuse this model, you can create a common component in Livewire, and from there you can manage it. As of now, I'm going to use it for project module only. So I'm keeping it inside the same blade. And I will increase this width to 25 rem. Now let's copy this model name as delete project. And here we will wrap this for this delete button. So again, I will use Flux model trigger component. And I will set the name as delete project. And let's wrap this button in that model trigger. Now if we'll navigate to the browser and let's click on this delete. Yes, this has triggered. Now alongside this model trigger, we have to dispatch one event so that we can get the current project ID and we will have to receive that ID, and further we will have to perform the delete operation based on that ID. So let's dispatch one event on this button click. So I will add wire click event, and here I will dispatch one event just like delete project, and inside this dispatch event I will pass one parameter as project ID, because based on that given ID we have to delete that project. So I will copy it from project just like ID, and this will be captured from project ID. Okay, now let's copy this event and we will listen this event in the index component itself. So just before this render function, here we'll capture the event. So I will define one function, public function, delete project confirmation, and this we can capture it using on attribute, and let's paste that event name as delete project. And we already have imported this on attribute. Now let's capture this ID. Okay, and I will put dump and die ID. Now let's navigate to the browser. Let's try clicking on this delete. On delete, this delete confirmation model has been opened. Alongside, we are getting that project ID. So based on this ID, we have to perform the click. So initially, I will define one variable as public, and I will set project ID and initialize it with null. Now from here, I will assign the ID to that project ID variable. So I will write $this project ID is equals to ID. Now next, I want to add the confirmation click event inside the model confirm button. So let's write wire click event and the method like delete project. Let's copy this method name. Again, let's navigate to the index function, and just below this function, I will paste that method name as public function delete project, and this is our delete project confirmation. All right. Now here I will check if we have project ID, that means the selected project ID. Then again I will put dump and die in order to check are we getting the project ID here. Let's check now. Let's click on delete. And now let's confirm this. Yes, on confirm we are getting that project ID. Now let's continue the delete functionality. So in the project service, we have already defined this delete project function. Now let's copy this function and we will call it from here. So in order to call that function from project service, again we will have to inject project service class, and let's create this instance. Now based on this instance project service, I will call that function as delete project. Now here we will have to pass this project ID. Now when deletion is successful, we have to return the success message in the form of flash. So we have already added that flash message inside this form model here. So let's copy these two lines and let's paste it inside the index component from here. And the message will be project deleted successfully. And here we have model name as delete project. So let's copy it from this delete project and we will add it inside this project model. Okay, this is done. Now one more thing, after deleting the project, we have to refresh the project listing so that in the listing we will have the updated list. So we have to dispatch one event in order to refresh the current component, because this is our index component in which we are listing all the projects. Okay. So what I will do, I will create one function which will be triggered based on the event only. And this will be refresh project listing. And I will capture one event just like on refresh project listing. Okay. And based on this event, I will trigger one function and I will name it refresh project listing. Now inside this function, I will call this function get all projects, which are returning all projects listing. So I will write $this get all projects, and here we have to pass the project service as an instance. So let's copy this project service from here. We will have to paste it, and I will pass project service instance as a parameter. And currently we are inside the index component itself. So after deleting the project, we have to refresh the current component. So for refreshing the current component, I will dispatch $refresh event so that this will refresh the current component. Okay. And also we have to refresh this component from create and update. So let's copy this event and let's navigate to the form model. And here, after creating the project, we will have to refresh that. So let's dispatch that event from here. $this dispatch refresh project listing. So this will be working for both update and create, because the both methods have been triggered inside the same function, which is save project. Now let's navigate to the browser. Firstly, let's try updating the project. I will update the title as updated. I'll click on update. Yes, the project has been updated, and as soon as it is updated, this has reflected the changes here. Now if we'll try deleting this project, and if we'll confirm, yes, the project has been deleted, and here we received the success message. Okay. Now let's try creating some project here. So I will quickly create the project like Laravel Alpine.js. I will set the deadline. Status will be pending by default, and I will select the image. Here we have the preview. I'll click on save. Yes, the project has been created. Now quickly I will update the status to completed. So the status is not updated. I guess we have missed that in the update function. So inside the project service, here we have to update that status, project status, and this will be project request status. So we are updating the fields like name, description, status, deadline, logo. We have the name, description, and let's add the deadline. We have the project deadline is equals to project request deadline. Okay, so this is done. Now if we'll try updating it again, completed. Yes, this has reflected. Now let's try to change this to in progress. Yes, this has updated. Now let's try to click on view. On edit, this has rendered properly. Now if we'll click on add project, here we have to reset this model form to the initial state so that it will be converted in the create mode. So again, we will have to dispatch one event from this index component. So in the index component, here we have add project button at the top, this one. Currently this is triggering the model directly, but alongside this trigger, we have to dispatch one event. So for dispatching the event, I will call this wire click dispatch open project. I will copy this entire line, and here on this button click, I will paste that. But in the mode, I will pass create, and the second parameter was optional, so we can remove it from here. Now if we'll check this open project model listener inside the form, here we have received the mode and project. And if it is create mode, we are resetting this form to initial level and this view will be false. Okay. Also, I will reset this project ID to null. And further, we have to reset this existing image as well. This is done. Now let's check again. So I will click on edit. Now I will click on add project. Yes. When I switched from edit to create mode, the form has been reset and we have the form in the create mode. From here we can create another project, Livewire CRUD, using Laravel Starter Kit. I will set the deadline to 24 and at the initial status, I will set this to in progress. I will update the image and here we have the preview. Now let's click on save. Yes, this has been created. We have the view, edit. On edit, now let's try changing the image. So I will change the image to this one. I will click on update. Yes, on update, we have the image changed. So this is working. Now in the index component, that means in the listing, we have to apply the pagination as well, because for the listing, we have already added paginate method here, right? So as of now, I will change this to 1 so that we can see the pagination changes, because we don't have much data as of now. So based on this, this has rendered one record. Now let's apply the pagination here in this index blade just after this table component. So after this table here, I will render that pagination. So I will create one div and I will set the margin top as 4. Now inside this, I will use Laravel links function. So we have the projects links. Okay. Now if we'll check, yes, we have the pagination rendered properly. Now if we'll click on second page, yes, this has navigated without URL pagination, because we already imported one trait inside the listing component as without URL pagination. If we'll remove this, here this will create the URL in the browser. So if you want clean and SEO friendly URL, then you can use this without URL pagination. And that's it. You have just built a fully functional modern projects module using Laravel 12 plus Livewire Starter Kit plus Alpine.js. If this video helped you, hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe for more Laravel content. In the upcoming videos, we will be diving more into Laravel 12 plus Livewire Starter Kit and we will build some awesome projects. And if you have any questions or feedback related to upcoming videos, you can drop them into the comments. I love to hear from you. And if you have not subscribed to Programming Fields yet, please do subscribe and share it with your fellow developers. So thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next video.